And welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have a delicious and simple dessert recipe for you. This is perfect for parties. We are doing chocolate chip blondies. So this is obviously very similar to a brownie, but tastes a lot more like a giant chocolate chip cookie, and you just cut it into bars. It's perfect. So let's get going with our ingredients. We're going to be using some flour, some room temperature butter, so you want it to be nice and soft, some brown sugar and some granulated white sugar, some vanilla, some toffee chips. We have some score toffee chips here. Some chocolate chips, we're using some dark chocolate chips, some eggs, a little bit of baking powder, and some salt. So first thing we're going to do, as with so many baking recipes, is we're going to cream the butter and sugar together. So we're going to get all the sugar in there, that is all the brown sugar and the white sugar together. And we're just going to put this into our stand mixer and mix them until they are well combined and creamed together and the butter has gotten a little bit fluffy. While we're doing this, we're also going to add our vanilla, just to get those flavors going together. So we're going to mix those until they're well combined. Partway through, you definitely want to scrape down the sides. So you're going to take everything off of the beater. And you also want to rub everything down the sides of the bowl. You want to make sure that you're not leaving any chunks of butter or sugar that aren't blended together. We found there's a big lump of butter at the bottom. There's a bunch of stuck to the side. So you do want to scrape down. We're going to be scraping down many, many times during this recipe, every step of the way. So once you've done that, we are going to get back to mixing. And once everything's well combined, you can see the butter has gotten nice and fluffy and light. It is well combined with the sugar. There's no chunks of sugar or butter that haven't been blended. Always good to check again, just to scrape down the sides to make sure. And now we're going to start adding our eggs one at a time. So we're going to add one egg, and we're going to mix that in until it is fully integrated into the batter. We're just going to mix that one at a time until they are each time. Let it combine totally before you start adding the next one. Partway through, before you add the last one, you do want to scrape down the sides once again. And then once you have added all your eggs, your batter will look something like this. Good idea at this point to just give it a little stir to make sure that nothing is clumping up, that there's no chunks of unmixed egg, there's no chunks of sugar and butter. And then what we're going to do next is we want to get our pan ready. So we're not going to butter the whole pan. We're actually going to just put some parchment down on this. But we are going to butter the sides. So we're going to butter the sides and a little bit of the bottom around the whole edge of the pan. And that's where the parchment is going to sort of stick down. Now you can, if you like, treat this with a little bit of oil and just give it a little brush and make sure that you get all the air out from underneath the parchment. And then we're just going to give the outside edge that's not covered in parchment a little dusting of flour. Now that our batter is ready to go, we're going to mix in our dry ingredients. So we are going to stir together the flour, baking powder, and salt until they are well combined. You can use a whisk or a fork for this. You can also sift them together. And then we're just going to add all of the dry ingredients together all at once. So you want to do this carefully so you don't end up with flour all over your kitchen. And we're just going to toss that all in. And then in order to keep it from poofing up around the outside of the stand mixer, we're just going to pulse it instead of going straight into a blend. So you want to pulse it pretty slowly the first few times, and then as you can see it starting to get combined, then you can go a little bit faster. And this is all in real time. It doesn't take very long at all, and you can see it's already pretty well combined at this point. So all of that flour has integrated. But what we do want to do, once again, is we're going to scrape down the sides. We want to make sure that all of that flour is getting well integrated into our mixture. We did find some chunks of unmixed flour, some little dry lumps in there. So you want to make sure that everything is well combined or you end up with lumps. So once you've scraped down the sides, we're going to add in our chocolate chips. Along with our toffee chips. And then we're going to pop our beater down back into our batter. And just give that a short mix until everything is well combined in there. And again, you don't want to overwork this. You want them to be pretty tender when they're done. If you overwork them, they will end up being a little bit tough. So we want to work this as little as possible. You don't want to form a whole lot of gluten. You want this to be nice and tender and pretty soft to eat. So a little scrape down the sides to make sure everything's combined, and then we're ready to go. So these are ready to bake. So we're going to pop all of that batter out onto our sheet pan. And then once you've got it all out onto your sheet pan, we are going to spread it out until it's all the way out to the edges. Now, it may look pretty thin, but it is actually just about right. It's not going to be a big, thick chunk of fudge or anything like that, like a big, thick brownie. It's going to be a pretty thin little, almost cookie-like square, and they are really, really delicious when they're baked. And that's about how we want it. Now, they are going to spread just a little, and with that baking powder in there, they are going to rise just a little as well. So that's really what you're hoping for. So that's going to go into our preheated oven. And then when it's done, it's going to look something like this. You've got a beautiful brown, golden brown across the top. And then if you want to test it, you can just pop a fork in, hopefully in the middle. And if no batter comes out, if you hit a chocolate chip, you're going to get some chocolate on your fork. But as long as no batter comes out, you are good to go. So we're going to let that cool most of the way down. We can cut this when it's still warm, but you don't want to cut it when it's super, super hot. So once it's cooled down and it's just warm, we're just going to mark this and cut it into squares. You can make the squares as big or as small as you like. You can make little teeny tiny one-bite ones, or you can make really big, giant chocolate chip cookie-sized ones, whatever you prefer. If you want to be really exact about it, you can follow a ruler. We did not do that, and they came out pretty even. Now, this is a great recipe for parties. You can put a big tray of these out. We actually brought this over to a friend's birthday party. You can see here they're nice and tender. They've got that beautiful the dark chocolate inside, and those toffee chips have melted in. And that's it. You can see here we've got it on a little cake carrier. We brought this over to a friend's birthday party, and they were very, very popular. They were delicious. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.